So habits are funny things. We usually don't know that what we have a habit of doing, we're actually doing because they take so long to develop. And once they're developed, it's kind of like our brains are turned off to what we're doing. But a lot of what we do day in and day out is done out of habit. Whether that's our morning routine, the highways we take to and from work, how often we check our cell phones. Speaking of cell phones, I went to look something up the other night on my phone, and literally within 5 seconds of opening and unlocking my phone, I was in my Instagram feed scrolling through, seeing what everybody was doing, and totally forgot what I was intending to look up in the first place. This wouldn't be so bad if this were the first time this happened, but this is like the 8th or 9th time this has happened. It's kind of embarrassing to admit. The point is, there are lots of things we do out of habit, and the way we handle our money is no different. When Brit and I got married, we were in a pretty bad spot financially. We had a total of $120,000 of debt between the two of us. We didn't even have enough money to take a honeymoon. It took us 35 months of dedication and hard work and sacrifice and living on nothing to pay everything off. But we did get everything paid off, but we wouldn't have had to be in that situation in the first place if we had developed some healthier financial habits and better ways of thinking about money earlier on in our lives. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about in this video. What's up, guys? I'm Mike.
And I'm Brit.
And today we're going to be sharing 4 mental money habits that will keep you broke just like they did us. And by mental money habits, we mean like the mentalities, the thoughts, the attitudes that we develop over time about money, whether that be from growing up or schooling or just personal experience that lead to a poor financial life. And our hope is by watching this video, you may be able to recognize some of these habits in your own life, turn things around, and get yourself in a better place financially. The first one is not thinking for yourself about your own money. This is kind of like having a herd mentality about finances or doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. This is how I lived my life for pretty much the beginning of high school all the way to pretty much the end of my college career. I just had a herd mentality about everything, money included. When you don't think for yourselves about your money, it's kind of like you're letting somebody else control your financial life, even though you are the one who's writing the checks and paying the bills. It's more like somebody else is thinking, doing it for you, and that's not healthy. That's not going to create the future you want. It's going to create the future that they have for themselves. So a big risk of this is inevitably when you are forced to be on your own and think for yourself, you're not going to know how, and you're going to be more apt to make bad financial decisions when the time comes for you to make them on your own.
So something for me was I would follow more of what my peers were doing, and usually my peers were not the smartest when it came to making financial decisions. So, for example, spending way too much on clothes or eating out or having fun instead of focusing on saving or trying to pay more for my college education. You start to pick up poor habits instead of starting to try and think for yourself about what to do with your money. Which leads us directly into our second money habit, which was thinking consumer debt is a great way to fund your life. The biggest manifestation of this in our lives was student loans. And we had $90,000 worth of student loan debt out of the $120,000 we had total for our consumer debt. And this unfortunately delayed us being able to take a honeymoon. We did not do that after we got married just because of the amount of debt we had. Also delayed us buying cars that we needed, and it delayed us being able to purchase a house, have kids, and do certain things that we wanted to because we had so much debt that we were trying to pay off.
Be very careful with student loans. If you're in high school or you're a parent of a high schooler, or maybe you're an adult thinking about going back to college, they're not like other types of debt that, for example, a car. Like if you get a car loan and it's too much loan for you, you just sell the car. Like you probably don't get rid of all the debt, but you get rid of a large chunk of it. With student loans, that's not the case. Like 99% of the cases out there, student loans aren't even bankruptable. They will be with you for life. In Brittany's and my case, we had to delay everything about our life because of student loans. Every little thing. Part of that was because we chose to, but another part of that was because our student loan payments were so much every month. We honestly didn't have much else of a choice. So here's the thing with college. We're not trying to say don't go to college, or we're not trying to say that we're not proponents of higher education. It's nothing like that. Going to college doesn't necessarily mean that you'll graduate, and graduating from college doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a job right afterwards in your field. Going to college with student loans, however, does guarantee that you will have to pay back your student loans 100%. Here are some stats just real quick. Graduation rates for a public college 4-year, 33.3%. That's it. 1/3 of people who go into college graduate within 4 years. Public college. 57.6% of people who go graduate within 6 years. And this is again for public college. Private college, 4-year graduation rate, a little bit better, 52.8%. Private college, the 6-year graduation rate is 65.4%, so a little bit better. And these stats are from the U.S. Department of Education. You can look them up yourselves. Here are some employment stats from December of 2019 from those who have graduated college. Overall, American unemployment was 3.6%. The unemployment rate for recent grads in December 2019 was 3.9%, surpassing the overall unemployment rate for the country. 41% of recent college graduates are working in jobs that don't even require a degree. And 33.8% of all college graduates are still not working in a job that requires a degree. So basically 1/3 of college graduates aren't even working in a field that requires a degree that they spent a ton of money on in the first place. Please keep that in mind if you are considering taking out student loans to go to college.
Try to find other ways of going about it, even if that's scholarships or like what we have here in the state of Georgia, we have the Hope Scholarship. That's still available right now.
Yeah, there are also Pell Grants,
Yeah.
other types of grants.
So there's other ways of going about it, and we wish we had done that.
So here's the third mental money habit that Brittany and I got ourselves into, especially me. I got myself into this one big, and that is viewing money as a necessary evil. And the reason I thought this was that I didn't have enough money to purchase the things that I wanted. There were always little things coming up here and there, and because I had poor financial planning, I didn't think about money on my own. These things that came up, I wasn't prepared for. I didn't have the money for them, so I was like, this is so frustrating. If only I had more money, which I didn't. Money just must be a necessary evil, and it's not. Money's not evil at all. Money is an inanimate object. It has no intrinsic moral value. It has everything to do with the person who's using it. Money can be used for good things. It can be used for bad things. I changed my mind big time about this when I started learning some truths about how to properly manage your money. I think everybody in their future wants to be successful in one way or another. And they have this vision of their life, or at least with me growing up and my peers and my family, like we have these big aspirations of getting a nice home, raising a family, having a good job and things like that. Money is required in there, and especially if you want to become financially independent and successful and retire a millionaire and things like that, you're going to have a lot of money. Even though I viewed money as evil, I still had those goals and aspirations financially. But I wasn't thinking about the disconnect. If money is evil, how in the world was I supposed to gain and hold on to and accumulate a lot of it? If I really viewed money as evil, there's a much larger chance that I was going to be pushing away money and not managing it well, and wanting to hold on to a lot of it because I thought it was evil. Logically, there would be very little chance of me achieving these financial goals that I had for myself.
So our fourth and final mental money habit was short-term thinking the vast majority of the time. This was especially done by me a lot. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with thinking short-term. It's just if it's not balanced out by long-term thinking, you're not going to build the future that you want. So for me, I was always focused on what I wanted today instead of focusing on really what I needed tomorrow. So for example, if I had a long day at work and I just didn't want to fix any food, I would continuously buy food on my way home, especially when we weren't married and I was spending a ton of money every month eating out, like almost $1,000 a month. It was really bad. And I wasn't thinking about how that invested, just me spending less on food and investing the rest could have helped us a lot more in our long-term future.
So with short-term thinking, if it's not balanced well with longer-term thinking, you lose sight of all the opportunity costs that come along with impulse buying and things like that if you're just focused on the here and now. The flip side of this is if you're always thinking long-term, you're never satisfied with life here and now. So there has to be a balance. But just focusing on one or the other is not healthy. In my case, I kind of impulse buyed a brand new Toyota Prius many years ago. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it cost me $420 a month around there, $420, $430 to finance. And I did this for about 18 months. And I didn't need the car either. I had a perfectly good car. If instead I had invested that money on a monthly basis for 18 months instead of paying it to the bank, that would have generated about $14,000, assuming like 6 to 8% interest, somewhere in there. And again, that money could have helped Brit and I with anything else in our financial life. But that was the opportunity cost. That was the sacrifice long term. And it wasn't even long term. It was an 18-month sacrifice that I made Impulse buying a brand new car. I could have had $14,000 sitting in an investment, and instead I was broke. The house that Brittany and I are sitting in right now, this is a house we've only lived in for 4 months. We have a mortgage on it. An opportunity cost we had to weigh before purchasing this was the amount of money that we could be earning on a monthly basis if we had instead invested the $40,000 or so that we put into the house as a down payment and closing costs and everything else. $40,000 invested at about conservatively 6% every year earns $2,400 a year in interest, or $200 a month, and that's money that we could have for life. That's a pretty big step into becoming financially independent, I would say.
Yeah.
Our hope is with this house is that it's going to appreciate a lot more than that $40,000 could be doing for us in the market over the next few years, because we're in a pretty good area that's growing very rapidly, even with everything going on. It's an assumption that we made.
Right.
And it's a trade-off. It's an opportunity cost that we had to think about. Student loans, for example. If we had instead just worked our butts off to pay for college in cash.
Or making different choices, like for me deciding to go to a public school instead of a private school and paying half the cost. So that could have helped significantly decrease the debt.
We paid a lot of interest on that $120,000 of debt too. If we had invested that and paid cash for everything else, not only would we have saved the first 3 years of our marriage, we would have had a decent start to a nest egg for our future, or our future kids' college fund, or whatever. So with all that being said, guys, those were Brittany's and my 4 biggest mental money habits that led us to be broke, having $120,000 in debt, not even enough money for our honeymoon. Those weren't all the negative mindsets we had about money, but we felt like those were the broadest ones, the ones that were the most applicable. I mean, we could talk about things that led us to be $120,000 in debt for probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
We hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a huge thumbs up. It helps out the YouTube algorithm tremendously.
Subscribe for more, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at It's Mike and Brit.
Our budget template is also in the description below. That's basically the outline of how Brittany and I budget every month. That's also something that we didn't do before we became $120,000 in debt. If you're looking to get started budgeting month to month, or maybe just need some help doing it, download our template below. It's free, no email address required or anything like that. Also, if you're looking to start investing, our Robinhood link is below in the description. Sign up to Robinhood using that link. You get a free stock, we get a free stock. Helps out everybody. And with that being said, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.